I came to you and I asked you, you said, you God does not command you deception. Is that true? What happened? You become deaf? You were speaking earlier on.
So, Shamsi,
No, I speaking.
I know you asking a few things, but you asking. So,
I have to get a longer one.
Yeah. Give him a few more, please. We need a few more. Shamsi, this is the point. Islamic Allah
No.
of the Quran.
See the power change now. I approach
seems
you.
to be.
No. When there's no camera, you are very calm.
I know, I told you.
Now we see camera, you changed.
Be sincere.
Be sincere.
What did I say to you?
So,
Akko, be sincere. I approach
this is
you.
the point.
No. That's not your point. You never made a point to me. I came to you.
What did I say?
You didn't say nothing. I said to you
I
something.
said, let's wait for JC and have a
No,
proper
I
debate.
told you. So now,
I said, let's wait for JC and have a proper debate.
so if
That's
you see
what I
JC,
said.
you're gonna change.
I said, let's wait
Anyway,
for
my point.
JC and
Okay,
have
so
a
I
debate.
approach you.
Yeah.
I approach you. I said to you, I was watching your debate with the brother Muhammad, and you said about deception that you God does not command deception, has nothing to do with deception, correct?
Is that it?
I'm just asking you. It's a conversation. It's not about winning here. Don't worry. It's not trap. It's not trap. Just take
So,
it easy.
in this conversation-
breathe in, out. I'm just telling you.
Shamsi,
Yeah.
stick to only things which you do know. There is no one who has a problem with breathing here. If you want to
It
make
seems like it because you stopped him.
You're not a medical doctor. Excuse me, Shamsi. Stick only to the things you do know and let's make sensible comments to each other and see where we go. Yeah, simple.
So can I answer my question?
You can ask all sorts of questions, but shall we say you speak for 3 minutes and then I speak for 3 minutes?
No, I don't
Is that
think. No, we just have conversation like that.
In
It's
that-
a conversation, yeah.
in that, if that is the case, we're not doing only your questions. If you agree with that, that's fine.
No.
You make your points
Are you,
and then I'll respond.
But I thought you are here to defend your religion.
I am here to communicate to people the truth.
I didn't ask you that.
And the
Are you
truth-
here to defend your religion?
I
Yes or
didn't
no?
say that you asked me that.
Yeah.
This conversation isn't only about what you ask. This conversation is about what you want to say and what I want to say.
I didn't ask you that. Are you here to defend
I
your religion?
know, I did not say you asked. Now let's go
When
back
there was
to
no
this.
cameras, he was
point-
speaking differently.
the
No
point-
cameras. No. Are you,
Shamsi,
no.
Can we agree on
Are we
this?
going to debate about this? now?
Islamic Allah of the Quran legally sanctions deception.
Don't run away today.
Legally sanctions deception.
Look how. Look.
God of the Bible
Akko.
does not legally sanction deception. This is the point I want to
Who
make.
should define what is legally, what is not?
God.
God. Which God? No. Wait. Step by step. Because you come today to the master. You're not coming to
The master.
Where is the master? Where is the master?
That's why I told you you lost your
Running.
breath.
Where is the
You
master?
lost your breath.
No, you-
By the way,
Shamsi.
by the way, I'm not here to stay here till Jesus come back. You're aware of that. I know Christian missionaries.
Shamsi, I'm not here to waste my
let me
time.
speak.
If you have some points about the deception
Can I
aspect,
speak now?
no, I'm not here
Akko,
to.
I know you're scared because you now today. I know you're scared.
You
So
might
let me
have all
speak.
sorts of
Can I
problems in
speak
your
now?
life.
Shall-
I am
let's
not
time-
here to
time
Can
it.
I
waste my
speak?
time. Let's deal with
time
this.
it. We'll
Time it.
Time it, yeah, because this guy is not gonna let you speak.
Yeah, but we time. You speak, then he speak. We time it.
3 minutes each, please. Who can time?
3 minutes.
3 minutes each, please.
So here, you record when I push them first. Alhamdulillah. Because why? The Christian missionaries, when there is no cameras, it's like you speaking to a young child, innocent person. When there's a cameras, it's like you speaking to Pharaoh.
Young child, would you like to say that to him? Young child, innocent child, yeah? Why don't you go and meet him and tell
Who's
him
that?
he's a
I'm talking about
young...
you. The Christian missionaries, when you speak
Speaking to him. But anyway, don't. Let's deal.
No problem, paper boy.
No,
2 minutes,
who's-
2 minutes.
yeah, who's
Anyway,
going first?
I'm first because I approached him.
Alright.
I approached him.
3 minutes each.
I approached him about. I asked him a simple question, which he seems he has a problem to answer. Does your God? You said your God has nothing to do with deception, correct? In the Bible. That's the Bible. When I show you God, order someone to go deceive someone else. Okay. No, it's in here. We go to Kings. Okay. So we're gonna go to Kings, and you're gonna see clearly what God of the Bible. There's many. When God said to Jeremiah said, "You deceived me clearly." Okay. So here. So we're gonna read from King 22.
1 Kings, 2
Yeah.
Kings.
22, one king, yeah? Can you pause it because I'm looking for the passage? Okay, King 1, 22:20. And the Lord said, who will entice Ahab into attacking Ramoth and going to his death there? One suggested this and another that. Finally, a spirit came forward, stood before the Lord, and said, I will entice him. By what means, the Lord said? How are you going to do it? I will go out and be deceiving spirits. Be what? Deceiving spirits. In the mouth of all his prophets. He said, you will succeed in enticing him, said the Lord. Go and do it. He didn't say. Remember, your God is a God against deception. Your God has nothing to do with deception. However, your God is encouraging someone to go deceive someone else by saying go and deceive him. That's one. Clearly. Okay, another one. When Jeremiah, because it seems the God of the Bible deceived even his prophet. If he deceived his prophet, how can he be so sure he's going to deceive you? Okay, let's read when Isaiah said, Jeremiah, but I will go to Isaiah. I want to Isaiah, there's Jeremiah.
Shamsi, Jeremiah 27.
Huh?
Jeremiah 27.
No, I'm talking about the Jeremiah 20. Yes, correct, yeah. Oh Lord, so Jeremiah saying that, oh Lord, you have deceived me. Okay? And I was deceived. You are stronger than I. The Christian guy tell you, but Allah said is the best of the planners or the deceivers. Because the Arabic is makr. I will translate, I will explain what it means. Okay? So the point here is clearly, explicitly in the Bible, God encouraged people to deceive others. Clearly, he never said no. If you're gonna deceive him, don't do that because I'm against deception, as this gentleman was claiming last week. Likewise, you go deceive his prophet Jeremiah. Jeremiah, one of the great prophets, he deceived him. So how can we see sure hasn't deceived him? Okay, his time. Now his time.
Are you ready? Shall we?
And by the way, 10 minutes will go, huh? 10 minutes will go.
Well, shall we start again?
3 minutes, and go.
Ready? All right. Yeah. Cool. Shamsi, my point is extremely clear. My God does not directly deceive anyone. My God does not send his own prophets, the true prophets, to deceive anyone. These are the two important points. The couple of verses you read, by the way, from 1 Kings, I'm assuming you have done a typical Islamic reading of the passage. What you haven't done is read the entire passage in its context. If you read the entire passage in its context, what happens is God sends his true prophet to the king there, true prophet to the king, and tells him openly, you know what? God has allowed lying spirits. Lying spirits, by the way, are not of God. Lying spirits, as you might appreciate in the word of God, in the Bible, we know the devil and his demons, they lie all the time. And they were in the presence of the Lord during the time of the book of Job. And he can send them, and lying spirits lie. That is their profession. That's what they do. And that is why I'm seriously concerned with your book. When lying spirits do the stuff in the core of your book, I am a bit upset. I am a bit concerned. And God sends that. What does he do? He sends his true prophet to say, false prophets have received a lie from lying spirits. You better be careful. He gives a warning to the king, and the king still rejects the warning. And then the true prophet goes on to say, when you go and hide, when you react in such and such a way, when you are defeated, you will know the true God has spoken through me. That is the challenge. True God openly communicates to a king very clearly, I believe in the truth, and the truth is there are lying spirits which have gone out to speak to your lying prophets. Your prophets there doesn't correspond to God's prophets, but rather the false prophets. Your lying prophets would come and lie to you. Read the passage entirely, Shamsi, if you really care to know about the Bible. In contrast, what do you find in the Quran? In contrast, what you find in the Quran is, according to you, Allah's own words. apparently almost downloaded from heaven, sanctions lying directly, legally. And what does he say? Let not believers take disbelievers for their friends, Surah 3, Ayah 28, in preference to the believers. Ibn Kathir, when he gives his exegesis on that, what does he say? We smile in the face of some people, although our hearts curse them. This is an official communication which is coming through an official true prophet according to you. If he had been a false prophet, I would have no problem. False prophets lie all the time. A true prophet is sanctioning lying, and that is where my problem is. Show me from the passage in Kings where a true prophet lied. Show me that, please. False prophets lied, and God openly proclaimed that.
Fine.
Okay, again here clearly, Arul, yeah? Arul. Okay, Arul clearly now he's back. So what he's doing? He's backstepping. He's doing. Oh, backtracking. That's what I'm looking. Backtracking, because explicitly, God, when the lying spirit said to him, "I'm going to deceive him. Your God is holy." Should him, no, deceive him. No, he said, "Go do it." And we know every human being with a sound reasoning. If you tell someone go and kill someone, you are part of it. You encouraged him. Because if you are a man of honor, I tell him stop. Are we more honorable than the Creator? But I see clearly your God is less honorable than human beings. Human beings, because your statement to your God has nothing to do with deception. Clearly your God said, go and deceive him. How? He's not going to tell him, hey, I'm coming to deceive you. No, he's going to play around. Because what is deception? Deception, when you do something in a hidden way without no one realizing what you're doing, that's deception, correct? When you come to someone, I'm going to kill you, that's not deception. You already told him, okay? Likewise, when Jeremiah said, you God deceived me, who deceived him? God. And deception, of course Jeremiah didn't know, never knew God would deceive him. Because if God told him, I'm going to punish you, he's not going to say you deceived me. Because by definition, deceiving when you do something in a way that a person will not notice. That's what Allah said. Allah does not deceive the good doers. Allah deceive those who try to deceive the good people. Because those who try to deceive people, they think they're smarter than God. So God sent their own planning against them to show them He's the Most High. That's why Allah's name is not deceiver. Because there's a difference between action, attribute, and name. As for the verse, you know what he did? He caught Ibn Kathir and he tried to make it as Allah's statement. No. That verse talking about in a situation. Imagine you are in an area, there is like in India, the Hindus or the Buddhists killing the Muslims. Armies killing his mother, his father. If he come out from his house, he's gonna, if he doesn't smile with them, they're gonna kill him. According to this person, he should not smile with them. Tell him, listen, I hate you. No, some people are weak. The guy's scared to be killed. So Ibn Kathir, for example, he said, you smile with person, but you know, I don't like you. Not in Britain, because Britain, they don't force us. They're not killing us, okay? So again, Islam, that's the beauty of Islam, goes in line with a natural inclination and a sound reasoning. Christianity go against any human being reasoning and intellectual and sound natural inclination. That's why, as we know, European countries, which Christian countries, have left Christianity because they came to know Christianity doesn't make any sense to anyone. I gave him 5 seconds extra. Don't worry. Okay. Because I finished it to him.
And you're speaking for 5 seconds already.
No.
So,
Are you ready?
What you say? Sorry, what you say? I finished before 5 seconds. I finished.
You just have to make a joke.
Okay, it didn't work.
shall we?
Okay, so okay.
So you saw that again, the same confession, just like how Muhammad did. Natural inclination, and he referred to his heart. And the word of God, Jesus himself said, the word of God says, above all, the heart is the most deviant. Out of your heart comes evil thoughts, adultery, fornication, all sorts of evil things proceed from your heart. And you can, all Muslims can testify for yourself the anger that emanates from you. The natural inclination for a human being is wickedness, anger, hatred, and malice. And that is what we find in human nature. And Shamsi has agreed Islam is nothing but natural human inclination. He has agreed, and he also elucidated by saying in specific instances Allah has advised Muslims to do it. What he has ignored, of course, the Quran says Allah seems to think Jews and Christians are people who are not worthy of being friends with the great Shamsi and the rest of the greatest Muslims. He says, let not the believers take disbelievers for their friends. So the point again is, Islamic Allah seems to be quite happy with deception. That's a very valid tool that he uses to me. But I don't think there exists anyone called Islamic Allah or the Quran. I don't think there's a person like that. I think it is just normal human inclination, what he referred to as natural instinct. Only human wickedness which shows up in the name of Islam, time and time again. That's why you find sexual immorality, you find violence, you find slavery, you find all sorts of other wickednesses, which anyone would obviously say are wicked, and that is what he calls as natural inclination, and that is what he confesses is there in Islam. Now go back to his passage about go back to the passage about 1 Kings. Shamsi doesn't seem to know the meaning of deception. Let me read the passage to you, Shamsi, which you haven't cared to read. 1 Kings 22, verses 15 onward. Then he came to the king, and the king said to him, Micaiah, who is the true prophet of God, Micaiah, shall we go to the war against Ramoth Gilead, or shall we refrain? And he answered him, go and prosper, for the Lord will deliver it into the hand of the king. He was sarcastic when he says, go and prosper. And then so the king said to him, how many times shall I make you swear? He wasn't convinced that Micaiah was telling the truth, because he seems to agree with him, and he knows Micaiah doesn't normally. And then he said, I saw all Israel scattered on the mountains as sheep that have no shepherd. Micaiah, the true prophet involved in the passage you quote, which you haven't read, clearly says you are going to be scattered because the shepherd is going to be destroyed. That's the implication. You look surprised because you've never cared to read, and you yourself have agreed
I'll give you 5
that
seconds.
Islam is natural instinct.
When, it's very funny, doesn't it's very funny, doesn't know what is natural inclination. You know what is natural inclination? Natural inclination, naturally you should not sleep with your mother. You don't have to go to school, it's called an instinct. Instinctively, you should not beat up a baby. That's oppression. Who gave us that? The Creator. The Creator created us with something called natural inclination. So it's like a padlock. Imagine I give you a padlock. The only key that opens the padlock, it has to be the key that I made, because I made the padlock. And funny to say, it's amazing, the only padlock which opened the natural inclination is Islam, because the one who put that natural inclination within us is the Creator. For example, natural inclination, you believe God is perfect. Christianity comes in, they know God was a baby, someone took care of him, church is nappy. Naturally doesn't make any sense. You understand? Who put that in you? The Creator. You don't have to go to school, or Oxford University, or Harvard University, or North Carolina University to learn that. But again, Christians, we are talking to believe in 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 is equal 1. And I have mentioned already, we should shut down the schools which they have been teaching them this math, okay? 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 is equal 3, not 1, okay? Again, he said, I'm not talking about the prophet, I'm talking about God telling. He's missing the point, he's playing around. God telling the spirit, go and do it. Go do what? Deceive him. Tell him to deceive him. You're missing the point. You said there's no deceiving. So the problem is with the Bible or you, okay? The other thing, that don't misquote the Quran in front of us, because we know that, again, there is no verse in the Quran tell you to go enslave. There's many verses in the Bible. Europeans, when they came to Africa, they never used the Quran. They used the Bible to enslave the people in Africa. It is well known. The first ship that departed from Africa called Jesus ship, that used to enslave the Africans. Don't play with me. When it comes to history, I will finish you. So don't come here again, please.
Oh, yes. I'm terrified.
Yeah. There's no verse in the Quran says, go slaughter the babies and children. In the Bible says, slaughter the babies and children. What's going on? But that's off subject, because he mentioned them, so that's why I mentioned them. Again, Allah talking about those who wage war against us, we should not take them as allies. Okay? Awliya mean allies. Yes. If you're going to wage a war with me, I'm going to take you as an ally. But Allah also mentioned the Quran to be good and generous with those who never wage a war against us. Jeremiah clearly said, God, you have deceived me. You haven't addressed that. Okay? My point here is, I'm not going to go around the circle. So we're gonna stop here and we're gonna ask questions to each other.
You started, I finished.
Okay.
You said you know mathematics,
No problem.
know your
No
turns
problem.
properly.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you.
Calm down. Calm down. I know you're angry, man. Calm down.
I'm not angry.
You know we're about it. Calm down.
Stick to your way of conversing. Just stick to it.
Okay, just calm down.
All right, yeah. Again, Shamsi doesn't seem to know the meaning of deception. I clearly told him in the exact passage he read, God, after allowing the evil spirit, the lying spirit to go to lie, after allowing that to happen, the same God sent his true prophet to go and warn the king, this is the truth. And the truth includes the fact that you're going to lose, and the fact that the lying spirit has gone out, and the lying spirits have gone and spoken to all your false prophets,
Has
and
spoken.
they would,
So happened already.
excuse me,
Happened.
they would come and convince you. But know that the true prophet have given you the truth from the true Yahweh, which is not the same deception. Islamic Allah is not Yahweh. He does not allow deception through his own prophet. Neither does he deceive directly himself. He allows lying spirits to operate until the day of judgment. About Jeremiah, Jeremiah could talk about all sorts of things. There are all sorts of prophets who did all sorts of things. We don't vouch for the validity for every single behavior of every single prophet. Jeremiah, in his grievance, could complain. He could do this, do that. But the question is, did the true God permit that to happen? Did Jeremiah insist it is the true God, Yahweh is a deceiver? Did he insist on that until the end of his life? He didn't. And that is where, Shamsi, you need to learn to read more than one verse at a time. You really need to learn. Go back to the Quran.
No,
the
show me Jeremiah. When
the
he said
Quran, the Quran.
Jeremiah said, God deceived me.
Shamsi, this is my
Okay,
3
sir.
minutes.
Because you're not dealing with the point, you're making
So
up things.
can I?
Okay,
So
go on.
Shamsi, the point clearly is this.
Yeah.
Your prophet, your Islamic Allah does not like us to be friends. And this is a problem for me. You explained that natural instincts are somehow glorious. And your beautiful Islam captures. You said natural instincts tell you God is perfect, God is there. All sorts of other things are true. You would know, and all of us would know, human sin. What led Adam to go and eat of the tree? Is that understandable? Is that perfect? What did he naturally do? Is that advisable for us to do? All sorts of rapes that are happening, violence, ISIS and so on happening across the world. Natural instincts, are you happy with them? And that is what is shown up
natural
here.
instinct.
When you hate your enemy,
There's no natural instinct.
when you hate your enemy, that is not something that we want to have, even if it is our natural instinct. Jesus clearly said, out of your heart comes all sorts of evil things. Natural instincts of human beings are needs to be highly controlled, and Yahweh alone does that. Islamic Allah, like how you agreed, just encapsulates evil human behavior as religion. Islamic Allah says Jews and Christians are the worst of creatures. Elsewhere, Islamic Allah talks about in your
Finish time.
you spoke for 30 more seconds.
I'll just speak more 30 seconds. I'll just speak.
Anyway,
I'll finish
Shamsi,
sentence. Okay, finish
Shamsi, simple question.
No, that's a new
Islamic
sentence.
Allah,
You finish sentence.
Islamic
You
Allah,
finish. That's a new sentence. Finish.
Islamic Allah clearly sanctions legally in your Quran 328 behavior which is unadvisable in the UK. If you go around claiming I can hate others, that's not good behavior in the UK. You can try and convince others in all other countries, not in the UK. Here, we take Jesus seriously. Love your
That's
enemies.
it. That's it.
Good, thank you.
Deception. Okay. Wait. Wait. Again. Okay. Now, what's the time? Because I remember it's my class. Because I don't want to say Christians. They say Shamsi is running. No Christian. They want me to stay here and teach you to come back. No, I have to go now. So my point here is that you mentioned about the verse. This verse. You see, I don't understand it. This verse clearly talking about those who wage a war against us. Allah said, don't take them as allies. Awliya mean Allah's protectors. We don't take you as protectors, okay? Now Allah said clearly in Surah Al-Mumtahina, because I know you can't be bothered to read the whole Quran. You're just cherry picking, okay? Allah said clearly in the Quran that Allah order you to deal justly and kindly with those who never fight against you because of religion, okay? And deal with them nicely in everything. What you don't understand is, well, according to the Bible, in the New Testament, if you don't believe same thing the Christian believe, you should not greet me. and you should not invite me to your house. Yes, I will show you. You're gonna be very surprised, mate. Do you know about this or not? He doesn't know, because he knows. Because you know how to reply to me.
I have read my Bible.
You know how to reply
Don't
to
worry.
me. You know how to reply to me.
Bible. Don't worry. You get on
Press,
with your
Christian
point.
Press reply to me. Christian Press, because I hurt him too much, thinking, oh, Shamsi is after us, man. We have to reply to this. Watch this, yeah? It's in the letter of John. Here, that's it. Okay, I believe it's here. Is it one, John? No, I believe John later, John 2. Yeah, John.
Reading.
The older, the elect one, okay, which was greatly. Jesus Christ. What is it? Is it John 3? I believe 3 or 2. You know which one I'm talking about? It's about do not greet. I see if I have a Bible. It will be, yeah, do not greet me. You can Google it because it's John 1 or 2. I believe. But here is not the one. But anyway, brother, look for it. Clearly in the New Testament says, do not greet me if I don't believe the same. Are you not aware of that? You will get it. So, you remember here, you have to show good manners. Greet people. But of course the Bible, if I don't believe the same thing, do not greet me and don't invite me to your house. It's natural inclination. Let me teach you again what is natural inclination. Natural inclination, you know naturally that what is, not generally speaking, what is good, what is bad. You know naturally that what eyes are doing is evil. What are you talking about? Desires. You mix it between natural inclination and desires. Desires order you to rape women. You think, oh, she's a nice woman, let me do something. But natural inclination, no, that's oppression. So I think you should learn what is natural inclination, because if anyone comes to you, does not bring this teaching, do not take them into your house or welcome them.
What's the reference, please?
John 2, 110.
John 2.
If anyone comes to you and does not bring it, I thought you know your Bible.
I know my Bible, son.
How come you don't know where is it?
No. So when I don't tell you, it does not necessarily mean I don't know.
I know. So,
So 34,
2 minutes or 3 minutes?
3.5 minutes.
Okay. Deception is not just me. It's not the Bible is enough.
So Shamsi, let's shall we
go on.
start? Let's not. Shall we start?
Go on,
Jesse?
Akul.
Let's not beat around the bush. Can you, in front of camera, clearly say that the Quran does not say that the Jews and Christians are not worst of creatures? Can you please?
Yeah,
do
I
that?
will say it in the Quran clearly. Yes.
Okay. So the next time when we bring references to that effect, you would clearly say, if the Quran says somewhere that the Jews and Christians are worst of creatures, you can clearly say, you can scribble that out. Yeah.
Not scribble out. No.
I'm talking now. I'm talking.
You wait me to say it. After you talk about after.
It's a rhetorical question.
Okay, it's a rhetorical question. After you say it.
So,
because you never expect I'm going to say it.
so if you're willing to do that, now let not the believers take disbelievers for their friends is the important point.
Can you finish the verse?
Would you interrupt every now and then? Is that the channel point?
Okay.
So the point is simple. The Quran has multiple places where it clearly says that the Jews and the Christians are not, including jizya. What is jizya? As opposed to the other tax and so on. So the point is, clearly Christians and Muslims, even when Muslims had the upper hand, weren't supposed to be treated. You were doing taqiyya while you were explaining the taqiyya wasn't advised in the Quran. That's exactly what you were doing.
Say again, I don't say what you should say again. Taqiyya, I was doing taqiyya where?
You are lying to prove that Quran doesn't allow you to lie. So when a liar says, I don't lie, should I believe in him? When a liar says, I am a liar, should I believe in that particular statement or not? Is a huge problem I have. That's a logical conundrum. Now, going back.
Let me speak.
Anyway, the point going back is, Islam seems to be an encapsulation of all sorts of...
Now you can speak. I have ears, you know. Good.
It doesn't listen to his
You
eyes.
seem to have a mouth also, which seems to be always working.
Alhamdulillah. It's active.
The mouth working all the time isn't a good thing.
Praise be to Allah.
That's not a good thing, by the way.
No, it's
Sir,
good
now,
to you, but
Shamsi, the point is simple.
yes.
Islamic Allah, even if he exists, doesn't measure up to Yahweh. Islamic Allah sanctions deception, directly gives deception. He thinks Christians being taken as friends is an evil thing. That is what we find in the Quran. He thinks Christians and Jews are the worst of creatures. These are things that we find in your Quran. And that is the word of Islamic Allah according to you. In contrast, what do we find in the Bible? Yahweh does not directly deceive anyone, even when lying spirits, even when lying spirits were operating, he sent his true prophet to tell the truth to even a king who he did not like, who was going against unrighteous and so on.
It's time already. Who is it? Who is it? It stopped, it stopped, man.
Okay, give you 10 seconds.
Anyway, it stopped anyway. What I was going to say?
You did 3 minutes 30 seconds.
No,
and
no.
you spoke in between.
No, I finished many times. I
And then
finished
you
before my
interrupted
time.
many times when I was speaking.
I finished many times before my time.
Let's move on. Let's move on.
Yeah, move
Spoke
on.
for 30 more seconds.
No,
That's
there's a
fine.
time. Okay, no. You mentioned
Finish your
good.
point.
So the point that you mentioned, that clearly not dealing with Daniel when Jeremiah said, God, you deceived me. He's not dealing with it. He said, I'm not going to vouch for every action prophet did. He did. He put me under the bus. If you forget Jeremiah, just put me under the bus. He's a mushkila now. That's it. Now what he's talking about, the verse, when Allah said that the Jews and the Christians are the worst of the creatures. If he was only bothered to read the context, because the context is talking about the hellfire, as the scholars mentioned. It's not me, a classic scholar mentioned that. They mentioned the verse clearly. Allah mentioned these believers from the people of the book, not all of them, among the people of the book. Because the Jewish that believe in Moses correctly, they'll be in paradise. So not every Jew person, okay? So in the hellfire, because the next verse Allah speak about the believers in the hereafter, they'll be in paradise. So this is talking about these believers from the people of the book on the day of resurrection, when they will be in the hellfire, that are the worst of creation. He's not talking about them here. There's not my explanation. As I've mentioned, a Muslim classic scholar who lived long time ago mentioned that, I believe Qurtubi or Tabari, one of them. Okay? The other thing, Allah, listen to this verse. 5:8, yeah? All you who believe, there's no verse like that in no books, in scriptures. Okay? All you who believe, stand out firmly for Allah and be just witnesses, and let not the enmity and hatred for others make you avoid justice. Be just. Be just. That is nearer to piety, and fear Allah. Verily Allah is well acquainted with what you do. Okay, to be honest, let me make it clear. The Prophet Muhammad dealt with him nicely. The reason I came to him, because no one think, how come he speak about the same thing? Prophet Muhammad dealt with him, Jordanian brother, dealt with him. The issue that I'm bringing to him clearly in the Bible, there is deception. God allow someone to go deceive another person. Okay, he's prophets, Ahab's prophets. He said that they already been deceived. Okay, so there is deception clearly in the Bible. He's just gonna go around the corner. Another thing that in the Quran talk about Quran, there's some people very weak. They're living in a situation in a town when if they try to fight back, they will kill all of them. So the Quran give you, look, if you're scared for your life, then you can say something. Even the scholars mentioned taqiyya is not to lie openly. For example, if they say are you Muslim? Say no, I'm a believer in God. Muslim believer in God the same. So you play with words, okay? For a specific situation, because Prophet Muhammad clearly said, lying is an evil, and evil leads to the hellfire, and truthfulness is a righteousness, and righteousness leads to paradise. So clear in the Quran. But this guy, because Christianity, so let me make it clear. No, before. Now I want to make it clear. Can you tell in front of camera?
No.
You speak.
We have 3 minutes.
No, you did. You was stopped and you still speaking.
You spoke for 3.5 minutes before that.
Yeah.
No,
It is
I
caught
finished
on
before.
camera.
Okay, No, no, I want to ask you a
Caught
question.
on camera.
Because
If you did not pay attention, that's not my problem.
No,
You
wait.
spoke for more
Now,
time
I finished.
and you were interrupting while I was speaking. That was
I
what
want to ask you
happened
a question, but
before.
I want to ask you a question.
You can ask even more.
You can answer it, but I want to ask you a question to answer it after.
But no, your time is up. So
Yeah,
you
but I want to ask you a question. And
your time
I'll
is
give
up.
you 50 second, 40 second
I
extra.
don't
Because
wait.
you want to feel it last. You're gonna
You
pick-
started first,
You
Shamsi.
started.
Okay,
You started.
Okay, he's gonna bring in new. Because if he's gonna bring in new points, I have to reply to it.
Okay, fine. After that,
But you started.
Okay, questions. Okay, questions. Yeah.
Okay, let him
You
finish once,
started.
and the questions after.
You
Okay, let him finish.
started.
Let him finish.
How hard is this to understand?
Yeah, be just
Okay, let him finish and the questions after.
Mate, can you make it 2 minutes now?
You started.
Okay,
I haven't
Give him
finished
3
it
minutes,
off.
bro. Calm down, man. Give him
I
5 minutes.
haven't
Give him
finished.
5 minutes.
I haven't finished.
I think you would like to hear his voice. Give him 5 minutes.
Unless you can deal with simple logic, of course we can't have a
Who's
sensible
speaking about
conversation.
simple logic?
You started.
1 + 1 + 1 equal 1. Yeah, Assalamu alaikum. Give that.
I don't know.
You're right.
I really don't know how you dealt with your mathematics, but
Can you tell us 1 + 1 + 1 is equal 1? Tell it from the camera.
it's not true. Why would it be 1 + 1 + 1?
Jesus is fully God. The Father is fully God. The Holy Spirit is fully God. How many God? You know a question?
If you knew, if you,
Don't die.
now before laughing, you might want to learn something. No, this is not part of the time.
Go on.
Before laughing, you might want to learn something. I would not.
You keep repeating things.
If you think you're going to equate God to 1, I'm going to tell you don't know mathematics. Even the starting of mathematics, you haven't got a clue with. God can only be equated to, if at all equated to anything in mathematics, it is infinity. Infinity plus infinity plus infinity is infinity.
We're not talking about infinity. No, don't
You
play.
weren't,
We're
because
talking
you
about
don't
is the
know
Father
God
fully
as the
God?
infinite
Is the
God.
Father fully God? No, is the Father fully God?
He is an infinite God.
I didn't ask you that. Is he fully
Infinity
God?
plus
Is
infinity
he fully God?
plus infinity
Is the Father fully
is
God?
infinity.
Is the Father fully God?
I know you wouldn't
No, is the
understand.
Father fully God? Is the
I
Father fully
don't
God?
think you understand
Akul,
mathematics.
Is the Father fully God?
I don't think you
Let's
understand
analyze.
mathematics.
Is
I
the
made
Father
a
fully
point
God?
already.
No,
I'm
you
going to
haven't.
move
You haven't
on.
finished. Is the Father fully God? Is the Father fully God?
He's an infinite God.
Okay. Is
Infinity plus infinity
I-
plus infinity
We're
is
just talking about-
infinity. Is that clear enough for you?
Is it infinite? Infinite doesn't mean we're
It seems like the
So infinite
PhD
because-
scholars
how
in
many infinity
mathematics
is there?
here.
what you talking about? No, I'm not talking about infinite concept. I'm talking about God, the being.
God
You know
is infinite.
Okay, infinite in what way? In his
In all
existence.
sorts of ways.
In his existence.
He is omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent.
No,
infinite.
Wait. Are you God?
I'm not.
But God's
obviously.
inside you. You believe God's inside you.
That is part of his infinite nature.
What is so part of God's inside you?
I said part of the
I'm
infinite
asking you
nature.
simple question. Is part of God inside you? Yes or no?
I don't think you can deal with
Let's go.
mathematics.
Let's
No,
go
to
back
be
to the
honest.
topic.
I need
That's
to
why
finish.
the
now
section is
now
done.
clearly we understand.
I need
That's
to-
why he doesn't know his natural inclination.
I need to.
Yeah, debate that. I forgot time.
I need to.
So,
I need
it's
to.
part of God
I
inside you.
need to deal with the previous.
It's part of God inside you.
Previous point.
I need to deal with the previous points
Hey,
you
Shamsi,
raised.
stay on topic, Shamsi.
It doesn't say God's infinity. It says God is one.
So,
It says God is one.
so can I now start please here. So what does the Quran say? Quran chapter 13 verse 42 says all deception belongs to Allah. Chapter 9.
That's
Chapter 9.
not the Quran. That's
Are you
not
interrupting now?
That's not the Quran. You have Quran here.
Are you
It
interrupting
stinks.
now?
It stinks.
Wait.
Let him finish.
All right, go on. Let's
Let him finish.
You know what's funny? Let him finish. Go on. You're right. We're wrong for cutting him. No problem.
Okay, sorry, let him finish. Let him finish.
So,
Sorry.
1342, all deception belongs to Allah. 9:3, Allah is free from obligations to the mushrikun, and so is his messenger. 66 verse 2, Allah has already ordained for you the dissolution of your oaths. Muhammad broke oaths many times and teaches Muslims to do the same. So this is the Islamic Allah that we are talking about.
Wait, step by step.
If you don't know these
What is the
verses,
last one you said? The last one you said. Because I have to reply to it. Remember, it's bringing new points.
Shamsi.
Stay on topic. Stay on topic. Yeah, listen. Where's the deception? I want to see that.
do you know how to do a proper 3-minute conversation?
But you're bringing new points. You have to finish.
I didn't call this a conclusion, did I?
But I told you I have to go, and you said that
You
because
might
I
have
started
to
first.
go.
But-
I'm trying to make my point.
But I start first about deception. You make another
I'm
point.
talking about deception.
That's not deception.
Do you have a simple way to understand? You have 3 minutes and then I have
Okay,
3
finish,
minutes.
finish, no problem, finish.
How hard
Let
is that
finish.
for you to understand?
Let finish.
How hard is that for you
Okay,
to understand?
after that, what we do? After you finish, what we do?
After we finish, we have finished one full round. If you want to do
One full
anything
round,
new,
the discussion one-to-one.
you started, I finish.
No, after you finish, you're gonna finish this now. After that, can we have discussion, like one-to-one? Like I'm gonna ask you questions, you ask me questions. Question
Can?
answers. Yeah.
Can I finish this
Yeah,
now?
finish. Yeah, finish.
Thank you. So the point that I'm making is Quran repeatedly talks about the same kind of thing, deception, over and over again. Muhammad used that multiple times to break his oaths. Quran also permits.
To break what? Sorry, to break what? We haven't heard it.
They changed the word.
If you don't pay attention,
That's
you
what I'm
might
asking you.
want.
No, your accent is a bit hard for me to understand. You said Oz. What you said?
But Shamsi, giving his 3 minutes.
What did you say?
Let him
Oz.
finish.
I didn't hear what he said. I'm asking him.
Okay, repeat what he said. We didn't hear. No one heard. No one heard.
Oz, okay. Go, the brother's got it. No, I thought he said Polish. Oz. No, I thought he said Polish.
3, 2, 1, go.
All right. So repeated deception sanctioned by Islamic Allah. I am a bit surprised you don't really want to even stand up for your Quran. I really don't know what you teach wherever you go and teach in. If you don't have the courage to agree and accept what is obviously there in the Quran, shall we just say that you are ashamed to take it seriously? Islamic Allah does not consider whether in hell or not. By the way, you didn't give a precise quote for where you picked that thing from. Whether in heaven or hell doesn't matter. Islamic Allah thinks that Jews and Christians are the worst of creatures. Whether in hell or not doesn't matter. Worst of creatures is a precise expression. Among creation, among creatures, they are the worst. That is what it means. Whether he makes that point later in time, earlier in time, that is irrelevant. So your point does not hold true there. Now going back, deception is what we care about. Now you repeatedly accused God, Yahweh deceives. I clearly told you that he had the courage and audacity when he directly speaks to his prophets and through his prophets to even a king who he does not approve of, he told the truth.
Jeremiah.
Never lied.
Jeremiah.
I do not think Shamsi knows about Jeremiah. Jeremiah's point was, God, you said you will preserve Israel, Judah, but I'm seeing destruction nearing.
So this
That
is
is the...
I'm gonna speak to you because you're making the.
Okay, listen. Get the verse. Finish your point, Arul.
It's not deceivers.
Finish your last.
Anyway.
Finish your line.
Finish.
Jeremiah. You know something about Jeremiah.
Jeremiah, go, Jeremiah.
So in terms of, you might want to use your ears more than your mouth. When I'm speaking, it's my 3 minutes. Simple. Good. Can I start again? Jeremiah, his complaint was, many times over in the Old Testament, God said he will preserve the nation of Judah and Israel. He will do that. In that context, when Jeremiah saw the destruction of Judah coming through Babylon, he was upset. He wasn't able to reconcile both of those. How can God say he was going to preserve, yet I see destruction come in? And that is why Jeremiah was crying out, this is deception.
27 seconds.
Because you interrupted multiple times.
No, 20 seconds. It stopped it.
Even now you interrupt.
Anyway,
Okay, no more time.
So
Even now you
Jeremiah
interrupt.
was expecting.
So the point-
Finish. You can't finish. So Jeremiah was expecting for God to save the Israelites, but God destroyed them. So that is deception. That's a deception. So now let me ask you. First of all, when Allah mentioned about the...
Are we doing 3 minutes now?
No, question.
No, just question.
Just question.
Crossfire.
Now what is makr? Because you can... about the makr. The makr term, what you have to understand... This verse when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَيَمْكُرُونَ وَيَمْكُرُ اللَّهُ. If you look to the verse, Allah never said he's a deceiver. Allah mentioned that. Allah mentioned about people who try to deceive. For example, those who try to kill Jesus.
1348.
1348. That's the same one. وَيَمْكُرُونَ وَيَمْكُرُ اللَّهُ. No, but وَيَمْكُرُونَ وَيَمْكُرُ اللَّهُ.
This one, the Hebrew.
Yeah, but I'm talking about yamkuruna. Okay, so وَيَمْكُرُونَ يَمْكُرُ اللَّهُ.
What are you talking about now?
I'm talking about deception in this verse. We don't say deception, we say planning.
1342 or
Makr is not this, you know it's makr. Because the term is makr.
which verse are you talking about?
There's many
1342.
verses. There's a verse, it's what Ali Imran. I don't know numbers, but Ali Imran, there's so Allah said they plan, and Allah planned, and Allah is the best of the planners. That's the verse. But for the sake of argument, I was going deceiving. The verse doesn't say deceive. Yamkar. Okay. So what you have to understand, Allah's talking about specific people that try to harm Jesus.
Are you asking me a question?
No,
You
no,
said
I'm
you were
just-
going to ask me a
Okay,
question.
I'll ask you a question anyway. Forget all of this. Because you mentioned other points. You raised that other points. Okay? Are you aware you raised new points when you were speaking in your last 3 minutes?
Say your question.
No, are you aware you raised new points when you spoke in
Do
the
you
last
have a
3 minutes?
question, Samshi?
I'm asking, are you aware? That's
Is
my
that the
question.
question?
Are you aware? Yeah.
Of course, I was the one who made the points. Yeah.
Okay, so,
now can I ask my question?
No, but let me answer that. Now our discussion started with specific points. So you finished with the new points. So I have to address that point because you started now, not me. You started new points. So I have to address it, then we go question
I
answer.
really don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, can I speak?
I
Give
earlier
me time,
thought
give
you
me
just
time.
did not
Give
know
me time to
mathematics. Now you don't seem to know English.
Okay, let me speak.
You started, I finished.
Okay,
Simple.
Can I speak now? Can I speak?
Let him speak.
Okay.
Bro.
Yeah,
You're
let me
already
speak.
speaking. But I thought
You
this
don't let me
is-
speak at all. What's wrong with this guy?
I thought you were going to ask questions.
Okay, I'm gonna take 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
And then what?
Take a million minutes for yourself.
I really haven't got a clue what we're doing.
I
now.
want to speak now.
You can
about-
speak for all the time you want
No,
to.
but you raised the new points. Can I address them? That's my point.
Just
You mentioned the new points. Can I
So
address
are we
them?
continuing with the conversation?
Yeah, with the
3
new
minutes,
points.
3
The
minutes.
new
Go
points.
on.
The new points.
3 minutes. We're
Okay,
continuing with the conversation.
new
Please
points.
go on.
The new points.
Please go on.
Wait, 3 minutes.
I understand the new points. You started. I have to finish. Are you aware of that?
I did not start. You
Okay, it's a waste of
started.
time anyway.
I need to finish.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, you, God, you believe Jesus is a fully God, correct? No, there's no minute. There's no minute. It's just,
Answer him.
What are we doing? I thought you were doing 3 minutes now.
No, just
No, no,
answer the question.
forgot 3 minutes because it's gonna be. You know it's gonna be 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
Samshi, let's
Just
do
go
one
on to
simple
answer.
thing.
Oh, go on.
I'm quite happy to do anything,
Okay.
but let's agree what we are doing.
Question
Don't
answer.
confuse me.
Okay, forget that.
So you
Audience
ask
can ask
questions.
questions.
You ask
The
questions.
audience ask questions to me and to him.
You ask question.
Are you happy?
I'm going to answer. I ask question. You're
Okay,
going
no
to
problem.
answer.
No problem.
Simple.
No problem.
Good.
Okay. My
Please ask
question was to you:
Yeah.
Is the Father fully God, and the Son fully God, and the Holy Spirit fully God?
Is that your question?
Yeah.
No, that's my answer.
If that's all, yes.
Okay. So if we are fully,
Wait a second.
Go. Okay.
You don't seem to understand
No,
what
but
you
I
just
want
did.
to elaborate on it.
I don't care. You asked a question. I answered. Now I shall ask a question. You answer.
Let him ask.
So Jeremiah expected Israel to be preserved. God had said Israel would be preserved. Jeremiah saw destruction coming, but today, what Jeremiah did not see, we see. Israel is still preserved. Did God deceive Jeremiah?
Yes, because at that time they got destroyed. What Jeremiah believed? Jeremiah, because this after. Now, we're not talking about after. Jeremiah, for example, now you tell me your friend is not going to get stabbed, okay? Then I trust you. Then someone stab him, even if afterward no one will stab him, that will not negate. You still deceived me by saying he's not going to get stabbed. You just told me that Jeremiah said God told him he will preserve the Israelites. Then he saw the Israelites get destroyed. That's called deception. Now, my question to you, that is it not clearly in the Bible God says, Jeremiah said God deceived me? Is it clear? Yeah, I read it.
Is that your question?
No, can you read this? No. My question, can you read this?
I can read that.
Yeah, read it,
That's the
please.
answer.
No, read it.
What's your question?
Can you read it?
I can read. That's the answer.
May you read it? Okay.
I'm not here to do what you want. Ask a question.
Because you, okay,
Ask a question.
Okay,
how hard is
okay,
that to understand?
that's Jeremiah
Shamsi?
says God deceived me.
Ask a question, I can answer.
Okay, when Jeremiah said God deceived me, was he speaking truth or was he lying?
Jeremiah is not God. He fully did not.
Another question. Another question.
Did you ask a question?
Yes.
Was I beginning to answer?
Yeah, let him speak.
What is your problem? Have you got problems with understanding that I was trying to answer there.
Yes or no? Is
So
he
you
lying?
asked a question, which is did God deceive Jeremiah?
No, he said that. No.
Please repeat your
Okay.
question.
When
Don't interrupt.
Okay.
This is the conversation.
When
Ask a question. Stop. Let me answer.
Jeremiah, calm down, man. Stop. Let me
No, I'm calm. No problem, Shamsi.
So when Jeremiah said, God, you deceived me, was he speaking the truth or was he lying?
Yeah, that's a question. Yeah. Jeremiah spoke out of what he knew, which was limited. We know in the 21st century, the nation of Judah still exists. And therefore, retrospectively, we understand the nation has not been destroyed. Jeremiah thought they were going to be destroyed because of the imminent attack by the Babylonians. In other words, the limited knowledge of Jeremiah, which is quite understandable, he is a mere human being who was... Can you please stay quiet? So in the limited...
You don't answer my question. You don't answer my question.
He lies.
You ask the question.
It's okay, but he lies.
I don't want you to interrupt. You ask a
But if,
question.
no, this is a game.
In
No,
the
it's
limited-
game. He's game. I'm not gonna ask a question, and I'm gonna tell you if you interrupt, don't interrupt. No, I will interrupt. Was he lying or speaking the truth? Forget this game. Yes.
He spoke out of the limited knowledge that he had.
Was he right or
A
wrong?
prophet is not someone who knows
Was he
everything.
right or wrong? Was he right or wrong?
He was obviously wrong. Judah
Okay, show
still
me.
exists.
Wait. No. Show me.
Judah
No. Show me where God corrects him.
Are you...
Show me where God corrects him.
Samshi, do you understand a simple thing? You ask a question, I answer.
No, you're
and
lying.
then
No.
I ask,
Forget this
I
game.
don't
It's a game.
care
It's a game.
what
It's a
your
game.
verdict is.
It's a game
I
now.
really don't care.
No, you made that.
You ask
Okay.
a question, I answer,
Okay, no problem.
and then I ask a question, you answer.
Alright.
A simple principle. Do you agree? Would you respect?
No, I don't agree with your premises because why? What are you doing? You don't answer my questions and you're playing this game. If I start interrupting, you said no, let me answer. Answer my question. Forget about
You're not
allowing
answering
you.
his question.
Answer my question. Where in the Bible said he was wrong? Jeremiah was wrong.
You asked that question already. I've answered you all a similar question already, a previous question. This is a follow-up question.
Ask question.
But I didn't finish the previous answer.
You did. You said he had a limited knowledge, and we know the people of Judah are still alive.
Precisely. And
see?
therefore,
You did. So you lied.
Shamsi, him and Jeremiah lied.
I said, and therefore,
Go on.
Jeremiah
See, I'm
thinks,
listening. Huh?
It's hurting him. Go ahead.
and you are interrupting also. And therefore, Jeremiah thinking that God deceived when he said he would preserve Judah is just wrong. In his limited knowledge, he had an incorrect idea. He couldn't reconcile the fact of God saying he was going to preserve with the fact of an imminent attack by Babylon. He could not just resolve those two statements. That is the problem that Jeremiah had. Nowhere, Shamsi, I would dare to tell you, I would dare. Nowhere would you find one example of Yahweh going against his word. Not even with his enemies.
You're preaching
That
now,
is the
you're preaching.
Yahweh. That is the
Is
Yahweh.
that question? Is that question?
I'm finishing my previous.
All that I'm finishing.
That is the Yahweh I know of.
Okay.
If you need to find a contrary evidence, show me facts in its entirety.
Okay,
of
go on.
context. Now, question to you.
Yeah.
So,
No, it's memory.
Okay, عندك كلمة.
worst of creatures. Yeah, question now. Worst of creatures is a simple phrase. Worst of creatures. Worst of creatures. If it is going to be applied to Jews and Christians, it automatically implies among all creation they are somehow worse than everything else. Among all
Is
creation,
that question or
there is no
preaching?
There is no.
Where's the question? Where's the question? Yeah, ask question.
That is what I'm going to do.
No, but you're preaching.
If you look at purely the words involved there, there is no qualification of the time at which the verdict is made. Where do you get the idea, purely looking at the phrase worst of creatures, where do you get the idea that Jews and Christians are not considered to be worst of creatures today in the Quran? Where do you get the idea from?
I've already answered this, and that shows clearly who was not listening. The context of the verse, Allah speaking about those who disbelieve in Allah from the people of the book, they will be in the hellfire, and they are what? The worst creatures. Where? Because they are in the hellfire. Not before. Allah clearly saying that in the verse. So the problem with you, I don't know if you don't know how to read English. There's a free class online for you, okay? Clearly the context, yeah, you know, 1 and 2 as well. So clearly Allah mentioning why they are the worst of the creatures. When Allah mentioned they are in the hellfires. أولئك هم شر البرية إن الذين كفروا من أهل الكتاب والمشركين في نار جهنم خالدين فيها. For not just the Jews and the Christians and the pagan. They are in the hellfire and they are the worst of the creatures. So in the hellfire. Because we know from the Jews, those who follow Moses are the best one. Truly follow Moses. So the verse is specific about the people in the hellfire. And again, what you have to understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most just. I don't believe God who says go kill babies and children, slaughter them alive. I don't believe God who says if your daughter gets raped by someone, you should marry her off to that someone who raped her. That is Yahweh, who he believes in. I don't believe God who says if you are in a fight and your wife tried to save you by attacking the person's bulls, his private part, you should cut off her hand. I don't believe in that God. God, he wants to cut off everyone. He wants to kill everyone. He wants to kill babies, children. I don't believe in God who said kill a woman and keep a little girls for yourself. No, I don't believe that God is the most just. That's Yahweh who believes in.
Is that the answer to the previous
No,
question?
like you before you were preaching.
So you
now
do
my
that
question.
also.
Yeah, of course.
You're giving.
My question was to you now. That's my question now.
See this, Jeremiah 4:10.
Saying it shall be well with you. Okay? Whereas the sword has reached the very life. My question to you, can you show me where God said to Jeremiah, you're wrong, I have not deceived you?
Yeah, go on.
Because you claim that. You made it up or you got it was in the Bible. Can you show me where God said to Jeremiah, because Jeremiah is talking to God, you say you have deceived me. God is going to say, lie against me, because Jeremiah is a prophet, God will correct him. Can you show me where God said to Jeremiah, you're wrong, I have not deceived you?
So,
From the Bible.
the verse that you just read,
I'm not asking you that question, I'm asking the question about God. Can you answer my question, please?
if you asked a question, after you ask a question, when I begin answering, you should stay quiet.
Okay,
Simple.
That's not a game. He's going to ask life story, no problem, go on.
I stayed quiet.
Okay, go on.
It's not a game, that's how discussions work.
Okay, go on.
6:15.
Okay, khalas, say go on.
Good. So, the point is, what was Jeremiah saying? That Jeremiah was essentially saying God said that it would be well with Israel, Judah and Jerusalem. That was his point. When did God say that? If you go to prophecies before Jeremiah, if you go to the prophecies of Isaiah, if you go through the prophecies of various other prophets who came before that, including the prophecy of the Messiah sitting on the throne forever, and so on. Obviously, you see that Judah would remain forever, and the king in Judah would remain for eternity. So Jeremiah picks that idea up, and then says, but now I see sword approaching me, Babylon coming. So he couldn't reconcile these two because he doesn't know what we know today. I'm hoping you would appreciate, which you don't seem to appreciate.
That's my
What
question.
we do know,
Where God said, Jeremiah, you're wrong.
what we do know today, he did not know that Judah could still exist, Messiah could still come and rule in eternity even after Babylon attacks. Should God come and tell you, Shamsi, in the 21st century, something which is clearly obvious when you read history, something which is clearly obvious, should you need to see the statements there? I think that would be a bit silly if you said everything we know.
Wait. So
Everything we know.
Jeremiah said, God,
Shamsi,
come on.
you ask a question, I finish with an answer, and then I ask
No,
a
but you
question.
answer my question. That's not the answer. Brother, thank you very much. That's not the answer. Where God said to Jeremiah, you're wrong, I have not deceived you. Because that's what you claim. You claim Jeremiah was wrong. Either it's in the Bible or you made it up.
So God
Did I begin answering that question?
You haven't. You haven't answered it.
Did I begin answering that question?
No, you haven't. You begin answering something else.
2 minutes you've been talking.
No.
So, Shamsi, the point is clear. When I ask you a question, I am not here to comment whether you have answered or not until you finish. That'll be a bit silly. Don't do it.
Because I do answer it. That's why you cannot stop me.
I'll tell him just answer.
So after you finish, after I finish, a simple thing. Why don't simple things don't make sense to you? I really don't know. Now, simple.
Okay, come on, carry on.
Point is simple. What is
Simple point is simple.
what is obvious to us today in the 21st century? What is obvious to us today? I would be extremely unhappy if you told me, which is what you told me, that we would need to find statements like that in the Bible for us to know that to be true. Judah has not been destroyed is a fact in the 21st century, several centuries after Jeremiah. Jeremiah's temporary confusion is not warranted, it's incorrect, and I'm sure Jeremiah himself would have understood that and clarified that with God. God did not deceive Jeremiah. God had said it would be well with Jerusalem. 21st century, Jerusalem is still well.
No, but who's it destroyed
Simple.
at the time of Jeremiah? Who's it destroyed at the time of Jeremiah?
It is still there.
It's because it was destroyed at the time of Jeremiah, then it was rebuilt again.
And
Come on, look at this, I'm not going to speak to you because you're online.
there, run away when you can't make a simple logical point.
40 minutes, I'm going to run away now.
You began with the question.
Khalas.
You began with the question.
No.
Who finishes with the question
No,
now?
forget about finishing. Take out
Because you don't care. You don't know mathematics.
One plus one. Anyway, brothers, come, forget this guy.
Shamsi, do a wrap up, bro. Come on, man. Go on, bro. I'm not saying nothing this time. I gave him a chance to do a wrap up. He doesn't want to do a wrap up. It's alright. Arul, what happened there, bro?
Anyway, so that's unfortunately, I think the worst of conversations I had, and well, I wasn't actually very surprised that a conversation with Shamsi is going to be that kind of thing. And I do apologize. I would have liked to have a proper conversation with him, but unfortunately, there were plenty of interruptions, and therefore things were a bit difficult. But the fact of the matter is, Shamsi, for instance, gave an explanation for the worst of creatures, and he went on to clarify about things about people among Jews and Christians who do not receive the Islamic Allah. I, as a Christian, do not receive the Islamic Allah. So according to his logic, he only gave a reason, he only gave a clarification on who the worst of creatures is, which is, according to his definition, including me. I, who am a Christian, who does not receive Islamic Allah at all, is part of the worst of creatures, according to his definition. Now, how does clarifying who qualifies to be there essentially makes the point that Allah calls me worst of creatures is some sort of a beautiful point? I haven't got a clue. My God, on the other hand, he says, if you do good only to those who do good, would not a simple man do it? But what do I expect from you? I want you to do good even to those who do evil to you. Bless those who curse you. Love your enemies. That is the God Yahweh of the Bible. And that is Yahweh Jesus. Islamic Allah, on the other hand, has all sorts of qualifications as to why he calls people like me as the worst of creatures. In regards to Jeremiah, in regards to Micaiah, prophet again, a true prophet of God, in regards to all these examples which Shamsi brought up, the fact of the matter is simple and clear. God Yahweh never lies. God Yahweh never sends his own prophet to lie. The moment you have either Yahweh himself directly or his true prophet lie, then you can never ever trust in them anymore. Because if they lie once, they can lie any number of times in anything in the future. God Yahweh never lies. Shamsi pointed out rightly that a lying spirit went on to lie. There are all sorts of evil spirits. One which Satan himself, who wanted to go and destroy the life of Job. And these, until they are judged, until the Lord Jesus said they fell down from heaven, had access to the throne room of God. And so them showing up before God is not theologically inconsistent with the rest of scriptures that I know of, until they are appropriately judged through the crucifixion and resurrection, and later on ultimately on the day of judgment, the judgment for the resurrection of the dead. So on that day all these things would be settled. No longer would lying spirits have free will to go and operate. That is what happens later on. These days God allows them to go around, do what they do, but God never lies directly, even to those who He has rejected. Number two, God does not let His prophet lie, deliberately deceive. That is something God does not. Yahweh does not allow, but Islamic Allah seems to allow that as per convenience. Now, Shamsi also gave a weird definition of natural instinct, I think, or nature of the heart. The part of the problem is, Jesus again said, the heart is the most deviant. So to trust in my heart is a serious problem. Jesus said, if you get angry with a man, you're already committing murder. That is the kind of heart human beings have. How many times have I got angry with people? How many times have I done all sorts of these things? Many, many times. As a human being, I won't qualify to even get near God. Shamsi somehow thinks that deception is something which is permitted according to the natural instinct. I agree, it's part of natural instinct, and that is where I think Islamic Allah is not divine, and Islam is not divine in its origin. Islam is purely natural human instincts, which includes vile, wicked and deviant things. And this is what you did not even respect a real human being, and you care for me to respect an imaginary religion which you hold.
You're a hate preacher.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
You
Thank
incite
you.
violence.
Who are you, sir? Let's try and capture it.
My name is Gary. Whoa.
Oh, liar, liar, liar. Oops. Anyway, so can't deal with their points on a sensible level, already start calling people by names and accuse people by names and so on. So anyway, those are things we need to stay away from. Deal with the points. Islamic Allah could not be God. Yahweh is God. Islamic Allah, even if He exists, does not have moral superiority. Yahweh, on the other hand, is morally perfect. Good to see you, Raj. Yahweh, on the other hand, is morally perfect. No lie from His mouth. No lie from His prophet's mouth. Jeremiah wasn't lying when he said what he said incorrectly. He just did not know enough. And Paul in the New Testament clarifies, we see in parts and we prophesy in parts. Jeremiah did not say, when I said you deceive me, that's a prophecy, that's a revelation. He didn't say that. That was purely what was in his heart, not a supernatural revelation. What he perceived, he mentioned. Now, prophets perceive all sorts of things. Some of those could be right, some of those could be wrong. But revelations from God, which they receive and pass on, would necessarily be true. And that is the credibility, that is the qualification of a prophet. What he says, as thus says the Lord, would happen. And if that doesn't happen, do not trust that prophet. Muhammad did that. A few different quote-unquote prophecies which did not come to pass. And that's a classical textbook definition of a false prophet. Run away from him. Run away from Islam. Morally corrupt, bankrupt, and all that can give you is natural human instinct, as Shamsi himself agreed to. God's richest blessings to all of you. Come to Jesus Christ, who alone can save you and save me. God's blessings.